להוציא סרטון.
Frau Wohlmann, Frau Goethers, Herr Heiligenstaat, distinguished leaders of Niedersachsen, Mr. Phil, Dr. Wagner, ladies and gentlemen, 72 years ago, on April the 15th, our world has changed. I was then 12 years old in the women's camp, hungry, knowing what the next hour will bring. I was born in Poland, and arrived in Bergen Belsen from Buchenwald in January 1945 in the free winter. We made our way by foot from the railway ramp to the camp, watched by dogs and armed guards. Liberation came in the form of an armored vehicle flying the flag of Great Britain and a loudspeaker in a language we did not understand. The change was profound, from complete neglect and apathy to human compassion and the true effort to help the scared, hungry and sick inmates. Soon we were taken by the British commanders from the squalor of the cassette camp to proper housing and clean beds in the Wehrmacht ohne Kaserne. In June 1945, I left to Sweden with thousands of other Bergen Belsen survivors for recovery and convalescence with guests of the Swedish Red Cross under the leadership of Aunt Volker Bernadotte. I reached Israel just weeks before its declaration of independence in 1948 and lived there since with my family. We are gathered here today to remember the tens of thousands of innocent people, Jews and not Jews, who perished here in Bergen Belsen after prolonged suffering, the most horrendous circumstances, only because the Nazi regime decided they had no right to live. And we remember them with deep sorrow, and among them, my mother, Regina Milstein, who died here. We who survived remember with gratitude our liberators and people of goodwill who gave us a helping hand in order to return to normal life, raise a family, and continue living despite our horrible experience. Many of us felt then that the right thing to do is to leave Europe and participate in the historic effort of building a modern state of Israel, so that we Jews can be equal to others and to other nations and not live at the mercy of host states. After a traumatic experience, people react in two common ways. They break down and wait for help, or they gather all the power left to continue their life. Most of the Jewish survivors choose the second way, and the DP camp of Bergen Belsen is a vivid example of it. Right after the end of World War II, it became a center of Jewish life, family, children, education, culture, and all this under indigenous leadership with the aim of moving one day to Israel. During my adolescent years, when talking with friends about the Holocaust, there were two things that annoyed me and worried. One, that people did not believe our stories at that time about life in cassette camps, and that the Holocaust as such and its lessons will be forgotten as life goes on. Both turned out exactly the opposite. The Holocaust is studied today in most universities of the world with the purpose that this atrocity of historic proportions will never occur again. Let me here express my thanks to the state authorities of Niedersachsen and the Stiftung Niedersächsische Gedenkstätte for their successful effort to keep the memory alive and bring it to the attention of more and more young people. When the horrors of the Holocaust and the destruction of most of European countries during the Second World War were exposed to the world in 1945, the shock generated new political international concepts. Many of them were adopted by the Allied governments in order to provide alternatives to war as a means of solving conflicts between nations. These were the new international foundations of the United Nations and the European Union developed later. They were naturally based on the principles of freedom, democracy, and equality for all human beings. These principles were also part of Israel's Declaration of Independence in May 1948, only 3 years after the war, providing, and I quote, complete equality of social, political rights to all its inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, or sex. In the last years, different opinions and seeds of racism and xenophobia became popular in many countries around the world. The time has come for people of goodwill to raise our voices loudly against racism and for maintaining a liberal Western democracy based on human freedom and equality. The Nazi crimes and reign of terror are not only history, they are a warning into what racism can deteriorate. We, in our organization, Bergen Belsen in Israel, try to maintain these principles and educate according to them, leading a life of equality and tolerance towards others. Let us always remember the innocent victims of Bergen Belsen and the millions who perished during the Holocaust and the Nazi regime reign. I'm sorry I didn't speak in German. My German is not good enough for public speaking. Thank you.